to the cloud. There we go. Start over. What made you decide to choose this recipe?
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite recipes to make. I love mushrooms and I like to forage different kinds of mushrooms. And so sometimes I'm looking for something to do with them. And I feel like this is it's a recipe that you can just kind of throw whatever mushrooms you have into it. You don't have to use just shiitake or just baby bells or whatever. Um, so yeah, I was just saying that this time around I got a variety of mushrooms. I have some enoki and some shiitake and king trumpets here.
With the exception of the shiitake, I don't feel like the other ones really have much flavor. Am I wrong?
No, they don't have much flavor, but they have that good texture that they're adding and just meatiness. And then I don't know if you know about this, but mushrooms have a bioavailable form of vitamin D. Um,
So I could
and
eat mushrooms instead of greens in the winter?
vitamin D, we mostly just get it from the sun. Our skin absorbs it, and it's actually a hormone. But mushrooms are one
So
of the
cave dwellers, if you eat mushrooms, you can have less sun?
sure. Sure. Well, I mean, maybe you'll just feel a little bit better if you eat more mushrooms throughout the winter time.
There you
But the one of the amazing things about them is if you just take your fresh mushrooms and set them in the sun for an hour or two before you use them, they'll actually absorb more vitamin D and like maximize the amount of vitamin D that
I
you.
love that. Hey,
Yeah.
just like it's almost like they're sun tanning for us.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
They don't get skin cancer.
So how much can I get if I just set this out for like 2 minutes while we're talking?
I don't really know. I think usually it's for a little bit before you want to use them or ingest them, but
All right. I put the ingredients list in the chat. It's the flavors, it's kind of elaborate, a lot of seasonings, but
yeah,
as I mean, you said you can use what kind of mushrooms you want, so I suppose you could do the same with the
yeah. And the I don't usually put green beans in the mushroom soup. Those are kind of if you want to turn this cream of mushroom soup into a green bean casserole, then you can.
Oh, good, because I couldn't get green beans. That was the one thing
I
on my
couldn't either.
list that
I couldn't either, but I can totally explain it. It's pretty easy. I think the biggest complication is just frying the onions. And you just batter and fry the onions. They can get a little smoky sometimes.
Oh yeah, where we're talking about the
crispy ones that go on top.
the onions.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get cooking.
All right. I'll probably just turn my. Nope, I'm gonna have to set it down somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm down to one camera myself right now, so
oh, I see. Okay.
I just turned it, but I got a new camera on order, so I'll have my usual 2 cameras. But
all right, so I will just do it like this. And
oh, that works.
yeah, so I'm just chopping up a little bit of red onion that I had. Red onion has the most vitamins and the most flavor. It's also the most pungent. But you know, just use whatever onion you have if you don't have a red one. So I just have a little bit of yellow onion I'm adding too. And so that's about a half a cup of onion, or maybe like half an onion. And we talked
Did I
about
start
this.
a pot of water going?
No, we don't need to
Okay.
start a pot of water.
My usual reminder, save all your onion peels in a freezer bag until you get a whole bag to make veggie broth in the future. Or if you just save a bag of onions, you can just make onion soup. But, you know, strain out the onions, just the flavor. That's my number one, don't waste things.
Yes, I love to do that as well.
Although I have read if you save all the onion peels and you let it dry and then you grind it up, you have onion powder. I've never done that.
Oh yeah. No, I haven't dried my own either.
All right. I got my onions cut up.
All right. So actually I'm just gonna use like a tall pot or it's my medium sized pot. It's not a stock pot, but like a half stock. And I'm just looking for my recipe real quick. Aha. Okay, so we will just add a little bit of if you cook with oil, you can add a little bit of oil to the bottom of your pot and then we'll just add the onions and get those sauteing. We've talked about this before, or a lot of times I'll mention that like crushing your garlic before you get going on your onions is beneficial in releasing the allicin that's in the garlic. And if you just let that sit, those beneficial chemicals can be released before you start cooking your garlic. So just throw my onions in the pot here. And I'm turning it on like medium high heat to get these sauteed.
I guess this is if you saved all your veggies, you could veggie bits, you could make the broth for this.
Yes, yes, and I do love adding any mushroom bits to my broth. I try to add mushrooms anytime I have some.
I've got a few little tips that are very few of the tips of these mushrooms are too woody to eat, but that's where you take those and you save them for your veggie broth. These stems are actually very woody.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna do some bigger pieces and some smaller pieces. If you are wanting to use this as to turn into a green bean casserole, you know, maybe just keep that in mind. You might not want such big chunks if you're gonna do that, but I don't mind.
So have you actually made like the green bean casserole like this from scratch and brought to like a church picnic?
Oh yeah, well, I've taken it to family gatherings.
I can't imagine that. I've only had the like, you know, where you get basically a can of green beans and a can of cream soup and mix it like that.
Yeah.
Making it from scratch, how much better and flavorful. Now I've had it where you know, people use fresh green beans in their green bean casserole, and just that elevates it so much.
Oh yeah.
But actually making like fresh mushroom soup too.
Yeah.
All right, these are my mushroom bits that are too hard. Well, that one's soft. The stems on that one is pretty woody. Usually I just toss them all in, but I'll save that for some veggie broth.
Well, not to change the subject, but our sap season is coming to an end right now.
What
And
season?
usually when we start tapping trees, everything is early this year. And as a forager, I'm a little nervous about that. There's always a chance that something's gonna come and go before you even notice it. And I just hate to miss out on anything really special out there. Oh yeah, my shiitakes have a lot of texture. This is gonna be great. So
yeah.
you want approximately like 2 cups of mushrooms, just all together, whatever kind of mushrooms you choose. Just aiming for about 2 cups. A little bit more won't hurt at all. You can always add a little bit more broth if you need to thin it out. I am very much a person who cooks just kind of going with the flow and whatever works out. So we will loosely be following the recipe. So I've got 1 clove of garlic and 2 cups of the mushrooms ready to go.
Yeah, I think if you do, I only quartered the button mushrooms because they disintegrate compared to any other mushrooms, maybe.
Yeah.
But shiitakes, I don't think they lose any of their shape at all. So you cut it whatever desired size you want them. They're very like meaty mushroom.
Yeah. My onions are going pretty well over here.
But yeah, I think shiitakes is my favorite. Although, what was the really tall one you had? It was like
a king trumpet. It's actually in the oyster family.
I like those because they have, what do you call it? You get a lot of meat, you know, a lot of, I mean, all mushrooms, they don't weigh very much, but that one, I feel like you get a lot for your dollar.
Yeah. Yes, and my trick there is to buy those king trumpets at like a natural grocers or like one of the more high-end grocery stores. Those are, you get about 3 mushrooms for $10 or $12. And I like to go to the Asian market. And I paid $3 for the couple of king trumpets and a whole bunch of enoki mushrooms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's always, I always think it's better to go through there. So mushrooms do have a lot of moisture in them, and so most of the time I like to cook that moisture down a little bit. And I don't add too much oil when I'm doing that process. I'll add the oil after I sweat the mushrooms a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, there's a little bit in my pan right now, just because I had a little on my onions, but I'm not adding extra oil at this time. We'll see if it needs it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, especially your typical bell mushrooms. If you're not careful, they just completely disappear
Yeah.
as all the water comes out of them. So what are you trying to do here with the mushrooms then, if you're not trying to sweat the water out?
Yeah, sweat some water out.
You're just trying to char them just a little bit? Or what?
Yeah, just release a little flavor and get the onions and garlic kind of soaking into them. Oh, mine are starting to smell really nice. And we're gonna go ahead and add a couple of tablespoons of tamari, or a tablespoon at least.
All right. Can you use soy sauce?
Yeah, you can use soy sauce, you can use coconut amino acids for those people who are not doing soy. You know, I really like the flavor that the tamari imparts. So I'm actually going with 2 tablespoons of tamari. That's totally up to you. 1 to 2. But this is gonna really umami our mushrooms. And then
There you go. Looking beautiful.
and for those at home, for those following along, you can use different culinary herbs in this mushroom soup. You can do basil and oregano, or you can do thyme. Now I haven't put all 3 of those together to see the flavor combination, but I have done this soup with just thyme before. I've done it with just basil, and I've done it with basil and oregano together. And all of those are wonderful variations of the same soup. Just give it a little bit different herbaceousness. So if you don't have time on hand today,
I got time for the show. I said I've got time for the show.
Yeah, you guys, yeah. Awesome. I'm using thyme today. I think I might throw a little basil in too, just because I'm feeling like that would be a good flavor for me. My mushrooms are pretty cooked down now. So I'm just gonna add, we'll see what a cup of vegetable broth looks like. I did not make my vegetable broth yet. I have a whole bag of things in the freezer to do, but we're just gonna add a cup of the broth and see what it looks like. We may end up using 2 cups of broth. That's fine. Oh yes, mine smells wonderful. How about you? How's it going? Did you put a little soy in there already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just, I am adding my herbs now and my vegetable broth, and then we'll just let it simmer a little.
But you just said like a cup. Oop,
You can do a teaspoon of dried thyme, a teaspoon of dried basil, and or oregano. As I said, I'm getting my basil out too. That just sounds good to me right now. So I'm gonna add it in. Mmm.
You ever put sage in?
Yeah, you totally could do sage. Yeah, that would be wonderful. I don't think I've done this soup with sage, but I can imagine it.
Yeah, I think in the winter I really like using sage.
And I often like it in dishes that are kind of meaty but don't have any meat in them, because it kind of it sometimes reminds you of like a sausage
That's
or
true, yeah.
yeah. I've got lots of mushrooms left. Maybe I should have doubled up my recipe.
Yeah, what I tend to do when I go to the farmer's market with my mushrooms is within a day or two, I will saute them and then they're good for like 10 days. I
Yeah,
just lightly saute them and then have a container that I can just add them to anything.
yeah.
So we're just trying to lightly simmer this.
Yeah, just with a simmering right now. And we only have one more ingredient to add. Once you've got your broth and your herbs chosen and added to your mushrooms, we are just doing, oops, a can of coconut milk. And some salt and pepper, however you like it. If you use a little more soy sauce, you might need a little less salt than usual, but our last ingredient would be the coconut milk. There are a few different recipes that you can find online for the vegan cream of mushroom soup, and the majority are basically the same, and then the herbs are different. That's really the only kind of.
So it's just like different mushrooms, different herbs to your choice.
Yeah, exactly. I did think about grabbing some chicken of the woods mushrooms that I have dehydrated, but I couldn't figure out how long I needed to rehydrate them in order to use them in this. So I didn't even try. Depending on how long it's simmering, I mean, I essentially could just throw them in now and let them simmer until they plump up, but
Well, I know if I let it simmer very long, the bells would just disappear, so you won't have any texture.
well,
Although
yeah,
for a lot of Americans, cream of mushroom soup has like no texture of mushrooms.
right, yeah. So that's kind of why I mentioned that you can dice the mushrooms as fine as you like. Yeah, especially if you're going for the traditional like creamy casserole kind of, or Campbell's cream of mushroom. Yeah, often it doesn't have noticeable mushrooms in it, right?
Although at this point, you could
Yeah,
just toss it in a blender or
you could. Yeah.
because I mean, you don't really have to cook the mushrooms much more than that.
No, you can totally add your cream, your coconut cream, coconut milk. Yep, I'm just mixing mine up now. Oh yeah, my flavors are smelling wonderful.
I'm glad I put a little sage, even though I just put like a pinch.
Yeah.
It really has, I mean, I could smell it really strong.
Oh, yum. Yum. I just want to kind of look in my pot because it's so beautiful and delicious.
Oh, wow.
It's just a little bit different, but yeah, it's going good.
The taste is phenomenal. I don't know about the texture because I didn't eat any mushrooms. Again,
Your broth is really delicious though.
yeah, being used to having mushroom soup without much texture to it.
Right, right.
Now I've had like Italian mushroom soup that wasn't creamy. Basically, the first part of this was very similar to Italian mushroom soup I've had.
Where you would
Without
just
the cream.
put in broth,
Yeah.
have the mushrooms in the broth.
Yeah, without the cream.
Yeah.
So, and then I've had it like that served over like a pasta or a rice.
That
And
sounds.
then it soaks up most of the juice.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, wow. I have to get a spoon for this.
But yeah, if you look at the mushrooms, most of those mushrooms are, I don't know, about the third of the size they were.
Yeah. I'm just gonna eat out of my big pot.
I'm following proper kitchen process here, which is get a spoon and put it in another spoon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's so good. I haven't even put any salt or pepper in. It's slightly sweet. I think just the coconut milk probably adds just a little bit of sweetness, but
that's true. I didn't
so does.
realize that. It does have slightly
Mhm. So would
that
cream.
over in my.
Oh, boy. Now I just want like a big piece of sourdough bread and a big bowl of this.
You're not allowed to eat it. You're taking it to the church picnic. Well, that's if you make the green bean casserole.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this the store I went to didn't have green beans. I didn't think of it.
Now we're gonna make some onions to go on your green bean casserole.
Yes, I can totally show or just talk about how that process works. So when you're doing those crispy onions for the top, you would use the sweetest onion that you can find. So a Vidalia is perfect, or a sweet white. And you just want to slice that really thin. And if you are able to use, if you use dairy, you can use buttermilk. The ingredients that I shared for this process are for a vegan version. So it is a little soured vegan milk, plant milk. And the way that you do that is you add a tablespoon of vinegar to your.
I almost never throw milk away. I always tend to make cheese. And at the commercial kitchen, we had a thing of expired milk, which you have to throw away. And I forgot to check what we were cooking today. So like on Tuesday, cleaning out the kitchen. And then on Wednesday, I look at the recipe list and I was like, dang, we could have been using that.
Oh
It
man.
was like the gallon was puffing up a little bit, but you just loosen the cap. And so trick on how to cut the onion. Can you tell me, are we making like onion rings or like what shape?
I do just really thinly sliced, like julienne onions.
Okay.
That's my preference. It turns out the closest to like store-bought crunchy onions. I feel like, when you do them really thin.
Go ahead and try to do it. Now, if you don't have the milk, how different is it? What do you think the milk adds besides flavor?
So as long as you just have a plain unsweetened plant milk, you can use almond or oat or whatever. Just you don't want it. Your onion's already been gonna be sweet. I mean, if that's all you have is like a sweetened milk, that's fine.
But it's
But
better
if you
not to have a sweetened milk. So if you had an unsweetened,
Yeah, an unsweetened milk, then you're gonna, I'm trying to find my proportions here, so just a second.
oh, I think I put it in the chat. Let's see
Yeah,
if I did.
a cup of milk with here.
I've just got the one recipe. Let me pull up the.
Here it is. Oh, a cup and a half of the buttermilk or soured milk. So a cup and a half, you could probably do a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of vinegar to sour that milk. And it just needs to set for a few minutes. It doesn't take long. You don't have to wait. What is the...
So
Oh, yeah.
showing.
There we
I guess I should, if I'm going to actually fry this, I should start heating up the pan.
You can heat up your oil, your frying pan. You're gonna have a bunch of crispy onions for the top of your mushroom soup, but no green beans?
Correct.
Okay.
Or I have to go get green beans later, but
That will also work. That will also work. So
I love green beans. I'll go to a Chinese buffet just to eat a plate of green beans.
oh yeah, with just the soy sauce and garlic on them. So what you're gonna do is basically soak those onions with your buttermilk. So pour your soured
I'm
milk.
crying, sorry.
Oh.
Usually red onions don't make me cry. I'm just being emotional today.
A trick that I learned for that, I know there's lots of different ideas, but I have found that this one works, has worked so far every time. To set a wet cloth next to your cutting space. Whether it's
Oh, that's a new trick. I've tried every trick I've read on the internet, but I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, so you put the wet cloth near where you're cutting, and so I guess that the chemicals are actually attracted to moisture, and that's why they...
Oh, so when I am being emotional, if you already have moisture in your eyes, it creates.
Yes, exactly. You are drawing the crying chemicals straight to your eyeballs.
All right, I'm gonna try to get a napkin and wipe the eyes a little bit.
And then you're gonna use about 6 tablespoons of flour, and you can use gluten-free or just regular wheat flour or bread flour or whatever. Any flour is gonna work. We're frying onions. So you're gonna put that into a separate bowl, and you're letting those onions kind of soak in that buttermilk, and that's gonna help the flour to stick to the outside of the onion.
So the flour you say you put in a different bowl. So
Yeah, I would
we're
put
just gonna take these onions and then dip them in flour.
right. You're gonna have a little bit of leftover onion milk.
onion milk. I'll
Yeah.
have to figure out how to use that.
Essentially, you could toss it in your mushroom soup.
Picking it up. So next time I make this, I'm gonna make the fried onions first,
Yeah.
and then I leftover flour but then it's not gluten-free unless you're using gluten-free flour.
Yeah.
I think I like partially this recipe is it is free of all the, well, unless you're allergic to mushrooms.
Yeah. Yeah. Or onions.
All right. Now we didn't put any seasoning. It was just the sour milk and the onion.
Right. The seasoning would go in your flour. You
Oh,
could
okay. I need it.
I usually just use salt and pepper. It's, the ones that you buy at the store don't have any seasoning, any flavor, in addition to just being kind of salty, crispy onions, so. Mm. You can fry these in oil, or it is possible to crisp them up in the oven. In order to do that, you would heat your oven to about 400 degrees, and they do take about 25 minutes. And you kind of have to stir them around to get the effect, to make sure that they're all crispy on all the sides. So it's a little bit more involved. It's a little bit more work to do them in the oven. I personally like to do it on the stovetop. It makes the product that I'm looking for. So I haven't really even tried the oven.
So I suppose you could do the modern version of the air fryer.
Ooh, yes. I don't know how to translate this recipe specifically to the air fryer, but I bet
Or
there are.
in my commercial kitchen, we've got a commercial air fryer. It's called a convection oven. It just has
Yeah.
the air flows around, but you'd have to put it on a mesh so that the air can flow around it.
Oh, yeah. Right. Not on a sheet.
Right.
Mm.
Trying to get as much of the flour off of it.
They do get kind of splattery. They have a lot of moisture in them, and they're throwing them in the oil.
How
Now,
hot do you run the oil? Like
it's pretty hot. Pretty hot.
probably be better to use coconut oil then for the coconut oil. Good for high temperatures.
Are you doing coconut oil?
No, I just
Oh, okay.
had just enough in my container that I need to use up oil. I tend to use coconut oil for most things.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, those are gonna be so good.
Here, see, look, I still got a jar of coconut oil from when I was last in the Caribbean. This
Yeah.
is local made.
We're
Most of the local made coconut oil, they do where they boil it. So very rarely do you come across the cold press like this one, which is much better for you.
the unrefined one, yeah.
But yeah, most of them, what they do is they just get the husks of the corn corn, the coconut husks, and they start a fire and they boil the coconut oil.
Oh, yeah. That's a cool process I've never seen. I would love to. I haven't been anywhere where coconuts grow. What, didn't you just get back from a trip?
Cuba and Colombia.
Oh, amazing.
Both of them were Rotary trips to do service projects.
Yeah. That is awesome. Are they still?
Colombia, we didn't have internet. I mean, not Colombia, Cuba. Except in Havana. Good enough to be on Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
And then Colombia, I actually came in. I was walking down the street to start the show and was just checking out some street vendors of food. But
Yeah,
it
that's
needs to be hotter temperature. This
Yeah.
says 1 through 10, and I had it on a 7. But I think no, that's too hot.
yeah. Yeah, there's like a fine spot right there, the ideal spot for crisping up onions without burning them. I got a new apron that I'm trying out today. From Japan. My aunt brought it back from Japan.
Excuse me. So part of it is I did the usual mistake, which was not to get the oil up to temperature
Yeah,
before.
it should really start splattering when you get them in there.
Yeah, it's like I tend to make that mistake a lot.
One of my biggest mistakes in cooking is being impatient. And I've been doing better. I used to not be able to do rice so well just because I don't know. I guess I was just messing with it too much. I used to always burn the rice. That hasn't happened.
Bring it to a boil, leave the lid on, and it'll kind of steam in there.
Yeah, now I turn it down.
I keep saying that I want to have like 4 grandmas on the show, each one showing how to make rice slightly different, you know?
Yes, that would be awesome.
So everybody be on the lookout for your grandma or your mom to teach about how to make.
Well, my grandma now uses a rice cooker, so I don't think we need to have her on the show, but I'm very proud of her, and she taught me how to cook, and she is turning 80 at the end of the month. Shout out to Mary Jane Grider.
All right, I'm gonna taste one of these. They came out good.
They don't look very crispy.
They're definitely crispy.
They are awesome. Awesome.
That milk gives it a taste. I mean, yeah. Now I know the secret ingredients of.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have to cook a bunch more, but
yeah. And it's really easy from here to create the green bean casserole. You would want to blanch your green beans if they were raw. Or if you're using frozen, those have already been blanched. If you're using canned, they've already been cooked. So then frozen, you just bring them up to room temp with some cold water, strain them off, and then you're just gonna take a Pyrex dish and mix your mushroom soup with your green beans, And then put those crispy onions on top and put it in the oven for 20, 25 minutes probably. Take it out, it'll be all bubbly and delicious. So.
I've had the same Pyrex dish for over 20 years.
Mhm.
And the plastic, I got it at, you know, a yard sale or thrift store or something. And the plastic started cracking. I went online. I just got this a couple days ago. This,
Yeah.
just the lid costs more than when I bought the container 20 years ago. But now I have,
Yeah, I am not surprised.
but
Yeah, I have one that has a lid. The other one does not.
yeah. So
Yeah. Well, I am so excited to be able to come down there next in April. And
yes, you're gonna come and we're gonna do an in-person wild crafting show. So
yes.
we'll go on a walk into the woods and collect stuff, and then we don't have no idea what we're gonna collect because it's whatever's in season. We'll bring it back and make a dish. So
Yeah. And everything is going a little fast this year. So
yeah, it's like,
we might get some morels. I don't know. It might be done by the time I get down there.
true.
Mhm.
So thank you for continuing to share your wild crafting knowledge and expertise with the world. It is a unique skill set that more of us need to know how to just go into our front yard, even in suburbia, and find plantains and dandelions and make something. Everybody has that in their yard.
The little dandelions that are coming up here, they're like this tall. The little leaves are just like this tall, and they're so tasty right now, like before they get all big and bitter.
So before I wrap it up here, I'll show you that. So I got them, but here I'm like simmering the soup. Like,
Oh boy, are you gonna
look
share
at how
that soup?
I just got it on like a warmer.
Are you gonna share it with somebody?
Yes, I've already had 3 people send me messages saying you better bring me some mushroom soup. So I
That's
just
awesome.
like, yeah.
That's
So
awesome. I am
we'll
so
see.
excited to see your big community kitchen and to go on a walk with you and look at all the plants and
That's
be
been
amazing.
interesting in my travels. I got to go to Brazil and Chile, meet some people who are regulars on this cooking show. So,
Yes, that is so awesome.
but I haven't had people come here, but some people are coming here because of the eclipse. Where I
Yeah,
live is the eclipse. So, all right. Thank you so much for sharing.
thanks for
I get
having
really close. It's
me. I really love doing this. I'm so proud of you for hosting this every week and just yeah,
if you
sharing
count the in-person
knowledge.
doing this, we just went over 10 years. So
10 years.
yeah, doing a weekly cooking class, cooking together, learning from each other from all over the world. So
I
I
love that.
truly believe that cooking together is love and it'll create world peace. So let's keep working on it.
Agreed.